Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. In a small New York City cafe, the air was thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries. The regular customers chatted quietly, but one corner of the room attracted more attention than expected. There, behind the counter, Emily Carter, a modest and always smiling waitress, dried the cups with infinite patience. But that evening, she was not alone. Her 8-year-old son, Lucas, born with a motor disability, was clumsily trying to keep up with the music playing faintly in the corner of the cafe. Emily placed her hands on Lucas's and, with a sweet but determined smile, began to dance with him. The customers paused for a moment. There was nothing spectacular, no perfect choreography, just a mother and son, united in a moment of pure joy despite life's obstacles. It was then that a man, Jonathan Blake, a discreet but observant billionaire, walked in by chance. Accustomed to lavish parties and business meetings, he was strangely disturbed by this simple but sincere scene. Lucas's laughter and the palpable love between mother and son awakened in him a long-forgotten emotion. For the first time in years, Jonathan felt what true happiness meant. It wasn't money or power, but those moments of pure human connection, authentic and unadulterated. And at that precise moment, in that small cafe filled with smells and laughter, an improbable encounter began, ready to change the lives of everyone present, forever. Jonathan Blake wasn't one for modest cafes. A 42-year-old billionaire, he spent his days between board meetings, Wall Street investments, and luxurious dinners. Yet that evening, he felt a strange urge to go out, to walk aimlessly. When he entered the small cafe, the warm, dim light immediately enveloped him. But it wasn't the atmosphere that caught his attention, it was the scene at the back of the room. Emily Carter, her hair tied back in a messy bun, laughed with Lucas, who was trying to replicate her clumsy dance moves. The boy, sitting in a small, adapted wheelchair, made sounds of pure joy. Jonathan froze. He had never seen such authenticity, such obvious and sincere love. The cafe suddenly seemed silent around him, as if the whole world had receded to give them this moment. Jonathan approached the counter slowly, unable to look away. "It's incredible," he murmured, almost to himself. Emily turned and met his eyes. Surprised to see such an attentive customer, she offered him a shy but warm smile. "Thanks, it's just. Lucas likes to dance," she said softly, wiping her hands on her apron. Jonathan felt something stir within him, an echo of his childhood he had long forgotten. Without understanding why, he sat at a nearby table, observing every gesture, every laugh, every little moment of complicity between mother and son. At that moment, he knew his life had changed. Not through money or power, but through a simple dance in a modest cafe, he had rediscovered the true meaning of happiness. And he was willing to do anything to learn more about this family that lit up the room in a way that no fortune in the world ever could. The next morning, Jonathan couldn't stop thinking about the little scene in the cafe. Lucas's clumsy dance, Emily's bright smile, all of it haunted his mind. He knew he had to see this family again, but how to approach them remained a challenge. After all, who was he to interrupt their simple and fragile daily life? He decided to return to the cafe, this time with a clear intention, to meet Emily and get to know Lucas. When he entered, the little boy was already there, helping his mother set the tables. Lucas looked up and gave a shy smile, immediately recognizing the man who had observed their dance the day before. "Hello," said Jonathan, approaching. "My name is Jonathan Blake. I'd like to chat with you for a moment, if you don't mind." Emily, wary but polite, nodded. She knew better, life hadn't been kind, and a wealthy stranger could bring as many problems as solutions. "I'm Emily, and this is Lucas," she replied softly. "What can I do for you?" Jonathan sat down at their table and took a deep breath. "Last night, your dance with Lucas touched me deeply. I realize that I've spent years seeking happiness in material things, and what you share with your son is true happiness. I'd like to get to know you." Lucas, curious, tilted his head and stared at Jonathan with sparkling eyes. Emily felt her heart warm at this unusual sincerity. There was no condescension in his words, just pure and simple admiration. "Are you really serious?" Emily asked, a mixture of surprise and caution in her voice. "Absolutely," Jonathan replied. "And if you don't mind, I'd like to help you, you and Lucas, in some way." Emily still wasn't sure if she could trust this powerful man. Yet, a small voice inside told her that her life might have just taken an unexpected turn. That day, a fragile but promising bond began to form. Jonathan was no longer a stranger, and Emily understood that she would soon discover that sometimes, true happiness comes when you least expect it. Over the next few days, Jonathan returned to the cafe regularly. Each visit seemed to further erase Emily's suspicion and strengthen their bond with Lucas. He wasn't just an observant billionaire, he was slowly becoming a friend, someone who took a genuine interest in their lives and their simple joys. One afternoon, while Emily was making coffees behind the counter and Lucas was playing with some figurines on the floor, Jonathan sat down at their table, looking serious but warm. "Emily," he said softly, "I've been thinking about what I can do for you and Lucas. I don't just want to watch, I actually want to help." Emily looked at him, surprised and suspicious at the same time. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I don't want charity." "This isn't charity," Jonathan replied. "I want to offer you something that could change your life. I own a foundation, and I'd like to create a program for children like Lucas, to help them develop their talents despite their physical challenges. But for that, I'd like you to be a part of it, not just as a beneficiary, but as a partner." Lucas looked up, intrigued. "You mean I could help other children like me?" he asked timidly. "Exactly," Jonathan replied with a smile. "And not only that. I want to make sure you have everything you need to focus on what really matters, your happiness and Lucas's." Emily felt a mixture of shock and fear. Life hadn't often offered her such opportunities, and prudence dictated that she decline. Yet the authenticity in Jonathan's eyes made her want to believe. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "It's huge." "I'm not asking for an immediate answer," Jonathan said softly. "Take some time to think about it. But know that I don't just want to offer you money. I want to help you build a better future, a future where Lucas can fully flourish." For the first time in a long time, Emily felt a spark of hope. Maybe this billionaire wasn't just a rich man, but a catalyst for a life she'd never dared to imagine. And that day, a silent promise formed: Emily and Lucas's lives were about to change forever, but with it would also come a challenge they hadn't yet anticipated. After several days of reflection, Emily decided to trust Jonathan. She agreed to collaborate with him on the program for children with disabilities, hoping to give Lucas and others the chance to thrive despite their challenges. But life doesn't change without obstacles. As soon as Emily announced the news to her colleagues at the cafe, some reactions were far from positive. "You mean you're going to work with a billionaire?" a jealous colleague asked, her eyes narrowing. "You think he won't get tired of you?" Emily shook her head. "It's not a fantasy," she replied. "He really wants to help us." Even in her neighborhood, whispers circulated. Some neighbors suspected a trap, others thought Jonathan was just trying to clear his conscience. Emily had to face these silent judgments while protecting Lucas and keeping her dignity intact. For his part, Jonathan faced his own challenges. His associates at the foundation were skeptical. "Blake," one of them said at a meeting, "are you serious? A waitress and her son? How does that fit with our mission?" "Because that's exactly what we need," Jonathan replied calmly. "It's not about status, but about heart and potential." For Emily and Lucas, this outside criticism was intimidating. Lucas, sometimes weary, wondered if he could really follow this path. Emily had to juggle protecting her son, dealing with the distrust of others, and working with Jonathan, a man she admired as much as she was cautious. One afternoon, as Emily walked home with Lucas, she felt the weight of her responsibilities. "Mom, do you think we'll make it?" Lucas asked, his eyes bright but worried. "Yes, darling," Emily replied, squeezing his hand. "We'll get there, even if it's not easy. And you know what? I think this billionaire, Jonathan, he's different. He really wants to help us." That night, as she watched Lucas fall asleep with a smile on his face, Emily realized that every new beginning involves challenges. But with courage, patience, and trust, even the greatest obstacles could be overcome. And as she looked at the stars through the window, Emily felt deep down that the true happiness she had glimpsed at the cafe was not far away. A few weeks later, the program Jonathan and Emily had launched finally began to take shape. The neighborhood's disabled children, accompanied by their parents, arrived each afternoon in a bright room specially converted for them. There were colorful rugs, adapted musical instruments, and spaces for everyone to express their talents, regardless of their limitations. Lucas, enthusiastic but sometimes hesitant, quickly showed that he had a particular gift for music. With his fragile hands, he managed to play simple melodies on a small, specially adapted keyboard. Each note resonated with pure emotion, captivating everyone present, including Jonathan. "Incredible," Jonathan murmured, observing Lucas. "You're a real musician, my boy." Emily smiled, proud and moved. She saw her son blossom, discover his abilities, and above all, open himself to the world with confidence. For her, every smile and every step forward were priceless victories. But this success also attracted attention. A local journalist, intrigued by this initiative led by a billionaire and a young mother of modest means, came to cover the event. Emily, initially reluctant, finally agreed to speak, convinced that sharing their story could inspire other families. "You show that children with disabilities have incredible talents," said the journalist, filming Lucas. "How did you come to believe in them?" Emily looked at her son and smiled. "Because they are exceptional, each in their own way. We just need to give them the chance to shine." The video quickly made the rounds around town and even reached national media outlets. Jonathan, impressed by the positive impact, felt they had begun to create something truly meaningful. However, behind this success, an unexpected problem loomed. A major donor to the foundation expressed dissatisfaction. He felt that the focus on Lucas and the children in the program was diverting resources from more prestigious projects. Jonathan had to forcefully defend their initiative, asserting that true power lies in impacting real lives, not fame. Emily, though worried, felt they were on the right track. She saw Lucas smiling and playing, felt his confidence growing, and she knew that every obstacle, every criticism, only strengthened their resolve. And that day, as the room echoed with Lucas's music, Emily understood that true happiness was not measured by wealth or prestige, but by shared joy and talents revealed by love and courage. A few months after the program launched, life finally seemed to be looking up for Emily and Lucas. The children were making progress, the community was supportive of their initiative, and Jonathan had become an indispensable mentor and friend. However, their apparent happiness was soon put to the test. One morning, Emily received a disturbing call. The venue where the program was being held was in danger of being closed due to unforeseen administrative reasons. The permits didn't meet certain standards, and the city hall was threatening to suspend all activities until further notice. "But, it can't be true," Emily exclaimed, her voice trembling. "The children. Lucas, everything we've built." Jonathan arrived quickly, looking serious but determined. "Don't worry," he said calmly. "We'll figure this out. But we have to act quickly." Emily felt her heart pound. She knew the financial and bureaucratic hurdles Jonathan was used to, but this time it was different. It was their world, their dream, that was threatened. She had to fight, not just for herself, but for Lucas and all the children who depended on this program. Together, they met with city officials, prepared documents, and Jonathan mobilized his contacts to expedite the process. Emily, despite her stress, was amazed at how courageous and persistent she could be when it came to protecting her son. Meanwhile, Lucas felt the tension and clung to his mother's hand. "Mom, will you be okay?" he asked timidly. "Yes, darling," Emily replied, squeezing his hand. "We'll get there. You never let go of those you love." After several hours of discussions and paperwork, a compromise was reached. The program could continue, under certain temporary conditions, until everything was regularized. It was a victory, albeit a fragile one, but a victory nonetheless. Emily then realized a fundamental truth: life sometimes presented unexpected challenges, but with courage, perseverance, and the support of the right people, even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome. And as Lucas returned to his musical pursuits, laughing and singing, Emily knew they had not only protected their dream, but also discovered an inner strength she never imagined she possessed. The program's success soon attracted attention beyond the neighborhood. Local and national media outlets began to pay attention to Emily, Lucas, and Jonathan. Articles, interviews, and even television reports celebrated the initiative, highlighting the strength of the disabled children and the dedication of their mother. Emily, ever modest, felt torn. She was happy to see Lucas shine and share their message with the world, but the sudden exposure was intimidating. Every camera, every microphone seemed to put their private lives under a spotlight. Jonathan, aware of the possible tensions, stayed by her side to support her. "Don't worry," he said one evening after an interview, "you're not alone. We're going through this together." Lucas, meanwhile, was beginning to get used to the attention. His little musical performances captivated the audience, and every smile and applause boosted his confidence. However, with fame came criticism and jealousy. Some of the foundation's donors expressed skepticism: why devote so many resources to a local program when other, more prestigious initiatives could benefit more people? Emily felt the pressure, but she remembered the first dances with Lucas and the promise they had made to each other: never give up, no matter what. "No matter what they say, Lucas," she whispered one night as she tucked him in, "we're doing something right. You're making this world a better place." A milestone event came when the town's mayor attended a session of the program and was impressed by the children's progress. He proposed an additional grant to expand activities and improve facilities. This official recognition was a moment of validation for Emily and Jonathan. They had proven that their vision could have a real impact. For Emily, this experience reinforced her belief that happiness and success were not measured by money or prestige, but by the ability to inspire and transform the lives of others. But as the spotlight shone on them, Emily knew it was only the beginning. With fame came responsibility, and each new success brought unexpected challenges. And, in the shadows, some envious or skeptical people were already preparing obstacles, ready to test the strength and determination of this family united by love and courage. Everything seemed to be going well. The program was growing, the community was supportive of Emily and Lucas, and Jonathan continued to support them with discretion and kindness. But life had a new test in store. One morning, Lucas woke up complaining of unusual pain in his hand and arm. At first, Emily thought it was simply fatigue from his music sessions, but a medical examination revealed a serious inflammation requiring immediate attention and a prolonged period of rest. "He'll have to stop typing for several weeks," the doctor explained, his expression serious. Emily felt her heart clench. How could Lucas continue to progress? How could he continue to inspire other children without his little prodigy? She felt helpless, as if their dream had suddenly faltered. Jonathan, seeing Emily's concern, intervened calmly. "Emily, this is just an obstacle, not an end in itself. We will find a way for Lucas to continue to participate and thrive, even with this temporary limitation." With her help, they adapted the program. Lucas participated in certain activities using special devices and adapted exercises. Emily, for her part, redoubled her attention to supporting her son, showing him that every difficulty could be overcome with patience and creativity. But the biggest challenge was emotional. Lucas felt frustrated and discouraged. He was afraid of disappointing his mother and the other children. "Mom, I'll never be able to do it like I used to," he whispered, his voice trembling. Emily knelt down to his height and took his hands. "Listen to me, my darling. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you're not amazing. Every note you've played has touched hearts. And now, we're going to find a new way to shine." This moment of truth strengthened their bond. Emily understood that true happiness lay not in avoiding obstacles, but in facing them together. Lucas, inspired by his mother's courage and confidence, began to smile again and participate enthusiastically. And Jonathan, watching, realized that the impact of their program was measured not only by the spectacular successes, but by the resilience and courage they instilled in these children every day. This chapter of their lives taught them a valuable lesson: sometimes the greatest obstacles reveal the deepest strength. A few months after Lucas's gradual resumption of activities, unexpected news changed the situation. An international organization dedicated to children with disabilities contacted Jonathan and Emily. They wanted to present the program at a global summit, with the possibility of expanding the initiative to several countries. Emily felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Traveling, presenting their program in front of experts and international media, it all seemed unreal. But looking at Lucas, smiling despite his efforts to continue playing within his limitations, she knew they had to try this adventure. "This is an incredible opportunity, Lucas," she murmured. "We could show the world what you and all children can accomplish." Lucas nodded tentatively, but with determination. Jonathan, true to his role as mentor and supporter, organized all the logistics, travel, accommodations, suitable equipment, and preparation of the presentations. When the day of the summit arrived, Emily and Lucas found themselves facing an international audience. The stares, the cameras, the experts, it all seemed overwhelming. But Lucas, encouraged by his mother, took the stage. Emily followed him, holding his hand and breathing deeply to calm her own stress. Lucas played a simple but moving melody, illustrating his journey and that of the children in the program. The applause was immediate and warm. Emily felt a tear fall. The little dance in the cafe, months ago, had paved the way for this extraordinary moment. Following the presentation, several international representatives offered collaborations, funding, and the exchange of teaching methods. Their initiative, born from a simple desire to help Lucas and other children in their neighborhood, now had a global impact. But with these new opportunities came a difficult decision. Emily had to choose: stay in New York and continue the program locally, where every child and family was directly impacted, or agree to travel and delegate some responsibilities to expand their vision internationally. Jonathan supported her in her reflection. "Whatever you decide, Emily, it will be right. But remember, true happiness is following your heart, not just chasing greatness." This dilemma marked a turning point. For the first time, Emily understood that their success came with crucial choices, and that the responsibility for happiness lay not only with them, but with everyone they could touch. After weeks of reflection, Emily made her decision. She didn't just want to be internationally recognized, she wanted every action to have a real impact on the children's lives, and especially on Lucas's. "Jonathan," she said quietly one morning, "I want to accept the invitation, but I also want to stay involved in our local program. We can find a balance." Jonathan smiled, proud and reassured. "That's exactly what I thought. You don't have to choose between greatness and heart. You can do both." The following months were intense but incredibly rewarding. Emily and Lucas traveled to share their method and inspire other cities, while the local program continued to thrive thanks to a team trained under their supervision. Each international success enriched the local community, creating a virtuous cycle of progress and hope. Lucas, now confident and fulfilled, played music in front of ever-growing audiences, showing everyone that his limitations weren't barriers but strengths that had shaped him. Emily, witnessing his transformation, felt immense pride and a profound happiness she had never imagined. One evening, as they were returning from an international conference, Emily looked at Jonathan with gratitude. "Thank you for everything. You didn't just change our lives, you changed the way I see the world." Jonathan, with his warm smile, replied, "No, Emily. You changed the world. I just followed you." As they got home, Lucas ran to the window to look at the stars. "Mom. I think I'm happy, really happy." Emily smiled and placed her hands on his shoulders. "Me too, my darling. And you know what? That's true happiness. Not money, not fame, just love, family, and the chance to make a difference in the lives of others." As they stood there, all three of them, Emily, Lucas, and Jonathan, felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. The road had been difficult, fraught with hardship, doubt, and challenge. But every obstacle, every moment of fear and uncertainty, had brought them closer to what they had always sought: pure, shared, and lasting happiness. And in that simple New York home, illuminated by starlight and Lucas's laughter, Emily knew they had found what many spend a lifetime searching for: true happiness, together.